Hello, welcome inside a live edition of the Scores Table. Brian Hench and Danny Rego. We're going to jump right into things with Austin Hough of the South Bend Tribune. Austin last night had what I would describe as the game of the night, a very slim schedule, but still, we knew it was going to be a great game going in. I don't know if great is the adjective that I would use, but it was a game, a great finish. Washington prevails over Penn 28-27. Going to dive into that momentarily, but we do have a guest list. Austin, obviously, with us right now. Lauren Votaw, head coach of Fishers, will join us around 2:15. Then we'll be joined by Floyd Central's Elise Coleman and Jerry Hickey, and then we'll wrap things up with Penn coach Kristi Ulrich. Bringing us home around 2:50. So a loaded lineup. Austin, let's jump right in. I'll set the stage. Washington, just a rock fight for both sides. The plays that stand out to me,
baby.
Yeah. the plays that stand out to me, I'd start, I think, obviously with the layup that you wrote about, Talia Alexander, the go-ahead layup with 49 seconds left to make it a three-point game at that point.
Yep.
So it wasn't a go-ahead. It was to pad the lead. Then you get Washington accidentally fouls on a three-point attempt. Penn goes to the line with a chance to tie the game, and they miss the first free throw.
Yeah.
That sets the stage. The door remains open for them, though, when Keira Reynolds misses the first free throw, lane violation on the second.
There was a brief moment there where the lane violation you thought was going to cost Washington, the win. It was like, oh my gosh, they got a lane violation, and that was gonna it was like two bad karma plays in a row, fouling a girl while shooting a three, up three, and you're like, okay, well they avoided the bad karma on that at least completely. Then they do a lane violation on a free throw. It's like, gosh, this is gonna end horribly for them, and Penn's gonna win this game. But yeah, it was crazy. And then Raya Wilson,
Raya Wilson with a clutch save. You described her as the steals queen,
she's the steals queen, right? I think she's not the all-time state leader in it. She's definitely the program leader. I know she got a record in steals this year. Off the top of my head, I can't remember which one that was, but she's they call her the glove. Out there. So Doug Love, sorry, like DA, but yeah. So it was when they needed it most, they had one of their best players step up, right, and make a big play like that. So
Wilson then also hits the two free throws on the other end. Penn comes down.
That was huge, obviously.
Yeah, Penn, and we'll talk to you, and we'll talk to Kristi about this too. Penn comes down. They finally get the ball across midcourt, finally get a look, and it's a 2-pointer at the buzzer, and they lose by a point. Just a heartbreaking finish.
Yeah, the video that I got wasn't maybe the best angle of how congested Washington made that last 4 seconds, because the ball went out of bounds, so Penn had to re-inbound the ball with about 4 seconds left. And there's an alternate angle from the other side of the court that Washington actually tweeted out, which you can see all of the Washington guards are tightly contesting all the Penn players, so no one could really break free. But and then they get the ball into Addison Hummel, a freshman. She's a really good player. She led them in scoring. She actually was the game's leading scorer last night, 11 points. But she's not comfortable shooting threes. That's kind of what Coach Kristi Ulrich mentioned really in the postgame. She's not really comfortable shooting from distance at this point. And with 4 seconds left, your instinct is try to, I guess, score quickly. But they had no timeouts. Did they all know that they had no timeouts? I have no idea. Because going for a 2 in that point, maybe you make it quickly, 1 second left, call timeout, because the clock doesn't stop in high school, right? It keeps on going. It's not like the NBA where it stops under 2 minutes, with every made basket. So just a tough kind of way to lose it for Penn, obviously. They battled the whole game, and they've lost to Washington twice by a combined 3 points this season.
Wow.
So. And both games had a chance late to go ahead with a shot and just missed or had the turnover or whatever. So it's brutal. And
It felt like coming in, I think you and I both, I wrote in my predictions, you mentioned it on the show, the youth factor for Penn. They have the star senior, but it's a lot of young players behind her. And there are a lot of moments. I was texting you about a couple, and I got home and finally got eyes on the game. You saw it there in the last sequence. It felt like there were some young player plays. You have a clean shot down the far sideline and you cut back inside. That's a young player play when you run into your own player and into the teeth of defense. Just little moments like that. But Austin, you mentioned it too as we touch on Penn real quickly. The future is so bright for them. Just the way that they defend and all that.
I mean, they started 2 freshmen, a sophomore, a junior, and 1 senior last night. Jessa Troy, the only senior that started. So they're going to have 4 of their 5 starters back. And like Anna McCullough has starting experience from when she was a freshman and some of his sophomore year this year too. Like they have a bunch of players that are going to be, they will be the favorite in the sectional next year. Figuring out the point guard and ball handling will be the biggest issue for them. Like they struggled with that last night. Like I wrote down at one point, like right before they went on a 10-0 run, actually, that they have no confidence on offense. Like they looked like they were just passing it around, and like they were too timid to shoot the 3, and they really couldn't go inside if like Reynolds was there because they were just afraid of a block or her presence in general. But if they kind of figure out that part of the game in the offseason and going into next season, like they're going to be right in the mix. They should, again, I think they'll be the sectional favorite next year. And they could, potentially be in the mix to make another type of run just because of all the size that they have with the younger players coming up.
And that's also coupled with the fact that, and you're alluding to this, but I'll go ahead and define it. I mean, Austin, it's like the youth growing up and their experience that they gained last night is also coupled with the fact that Washington graduates maybe one of their best classes in recent history. I mean, they've had some really good. 23 class was really good. 25 ones.
If you go by Division I commitments, it is the best class in program history, and that includes one that had Skylar Diggins in it, right? So, they have
Amaya Reynolds and Rashonda Jones. That was another one in 23.
Right. So you have 3 Division I kids. You have 7 total seniors, right? Like Talia Alexander, she scored 79 points the whole season, but she's a senior. She's been around the program at least. Played in some games, right? And she makes that big steal and gets a breakaway layup. And, Kyra Lowe, she's a younger player. She's a sophomore. She hit a 3 in the third quarter. Their only made field goal in that quarter that ended up giving them the lead back after Penn had gone on the 10-0 run. So there was, you see some of these non-big 3 air quote players making the big plays. Michaela McNeil had the other field goal in the fourth quarter, right? So, the three made field goals they had in the second half last night were by none of Reynolds, Mitchell, or Wilson. So,
Austin, we were talking about this off air, but the flu's going around the Washington locker room, and there's also Kira Reynolds getting banged up. What was it? A leg injury that she's dealing with?
I think it was just because of being sick. Like if I heard Steve correctly, basically Kira Reynolds was like bedridden the whole weekend. At least Saturday, she was like just stuck in bed basically because she was so sick. And she missed school Monday and Tuesday. She went for a half day of school Wednesday just to kind of like, I don't know, get the vibes, get feeling alive again, And so I think it was mostly cramping issues. Like I asked Steve, after the game, like if when Kira becomes healthy, do you expect her to be like, 100%, like when she's like not sick, I guess. And he was like, yes. Like it was mostly just dehydration leading to issues. They were stretching her out on the sidelines for basically the entire third quarter. She would play 2 minutes and get tweak something or whatever, and then come back in, things like that. So I think whenever she gets over whatever she has, she'll be fine. So I'm not too concerned. There was a moment in the third when she took a hard fall and she was holding her leg again, and it was like, oh my God, like is this gonna really be like an injury? Like is this serious? And it seems like it's just dehydration was kind of messing with her a lot. So,
yeah, Steve had mentioned to me that it was dehydration. And I didn't have audio. I was actually watching on my phone, but I think the sideline report must have had it. I think they had sideline reporters last night.
They did.
Who actually talked about the dehydration. But I'll parlay that forward and say that I think today when Washington's getting together, I think it's all like I think they're doing like IVs and hydration and just to make sure that they're all together to make sure that they're taking care of their bodies.
Medicine and Starbucks, I believe, is what Steve said will be the remedies today. So that's an on the record quote. So,
Do you play her? I posed this question to both of you. Do you play her Friday, Saturday? Like Washington's the odds-on favorites. Like do you play her, or do you put her in a situation where you let her dress and you say break glass in case of emergency? She's got the steals record. They tweeted out that out today.
Blocks record.
I'm sorry, blocks. I was thinking of Raya still. She has the blocks record.
Yep.
You're going to cruise through here. You have Warsaw or Northridge looming in the semi-state, and then,
regional.
regional.
Brian, get it together. Regional, man. Come on. Whatever. 1 round at a time, dude.
Semi-state is going to be a dumpster fire, too. Just really good teams. Speaking of dumpster fires.
I guess they're probably thankful they didn't have to play 2 games in 1 day yesterday. My God, they would have been dead.
Don't tempt the IHSAA with a bad idea.
It makes money. Kristi Ulrich went there. So just echoing Coach the future Hall of Famers comments. But I personally would do what you kind of floated out there, Brian. Maybe suit her up, and like you said, if for some reason they are like completely struggling against Michigan City, put her in. But like they don't need her to beat Michigan City and then likely South Bend Riley in the final. Like they don't. Like, 2 Division I players is just fine, against those teams. You might need 3 to beat Warsaw. But yeah, I personally would definitely keep it, safe. Kudos to Kira. I will give her credit because she was definitely not 100% and she still gutted it out and still had 9 points and 11 rebounds. Like, you have to at least commend her for doing that. And she knew that she had to go back in there. She knew she had to go back in there in the 4th quarter. Otherwise, they were going to lose probably. Like, she knew her entire high school career was on the line. And she gutted it out. It is like the MJ flu game, right? Like that was her flu game. So I give her a lot of credit for gutting that out. Literally, it was literally a flu game. So
I think it was only 17 minutes, right, Austin?
Give or take. I don't keep track of the minutes totally, but like every time it was weird because every time she picked up a foul in the first half, like they were taking her out for a couple of minutes. I'm like, this feels like a quick hook, but maybe they were trying to like mitigate her, body. And then she didn't really play the entire 3rd quarter. She played like maybe 2 or 3 minutes in the 3rd quarter. She was out there, I think, for most of the 4th. So but like you could tell, like she wasn't driving to the lane. Like she was getting the ball at the top of the key and shooting threes. Like there was like minimal energy exerted. But her presence out there is still, you have to account for it, obviously. So like just her being out there, even at like 30-40% was going to affect everything that Penn did.
I'd play her. Oh, really? I would absolutely play her. And I would play her under this context. I would play her because it's really hard for kids to view postseason play the way that it should be, which is individual episodes. It's still like a series, right? And I think it's going to be important for all of those players to regain rhythm. That was I don't know what you want to choose your adjective. I mean, my text thread, I could quote some of the things that people were texting me as they were watching that game. I mean, it wasn't anybody's favorite game to watch. We'll put it that way. No. Okay. But Warsaw looms. Okay. And if you don't feel good about where your game is, they can put you down 9-0 before you even cross half court because of the way they shoot the ball and where that game is and all of that. I think it's important for all of those players at South Bend, Washington, not just Kira, to, I think, regain some rhythm. Once she does that, in that game, it's not going to take very long. All due respect to their opponents the rest of the way in the sectional, but they can regain rhythm in a quarter. But I would dress her, I would start her, I would play her, I would go through her from the very beginning and see if she can get some positive vibes heading into the practice week before Warsaw or Northridge. My apologies there.
Yeah, that's I good points, Danny. You should do this, I think, professionally.
Great. That's really nice.
I agree. The rhythm is important. I agree. That's a good counter argument. So
I wanted to take a shot at
the whole game.
Yeah. I wanted to take a shot at Kyle Soakman, but Austin keeps cutting me off. And also our next guest is jumping in. So Austin, I'll ask you for final thoughts from last night and just kind of spinning it ahead now where we go from here for, just big picture of Washington.
Yeah. Well, like Danny alluded to, they will not hang that game in the Louvre. It was not pretty. It was ugly. But again, Washington, they should take care of business the next couple nights when they're 4th sectional in a row. Or fifth in a row. And then, a lot of their quote unquote legacy of this senior class is then defined in the next, couple of weeks, right? Like, they won a state title as freshmen in 3A. They were on that great 4A semi-state qualifier in 22. This has definitively been their team the last 2 seasons. They lost in the regional last year to Lake Central. Can they kind of exercise some of those demons in the regional against Warsaw or Northridge? So yeah, I mean, I kind of like how we remember this group will be, I think, defined a lot by what happens in the next, 8 to 20 days potentially.
2 points before Hank moves us on. The first is in postseason play, you just have to make a play, right? And so everybody will focus on the 31 and a half minutes that was played prior, but I think you need to link onto the fact that Raya Wilson wasn't dealing with hydration issues and wasn't dealing with health issues and things along that. And she made the play in the end. I mean, I think the steal, of course, the Alexander steal is the one that put him up 3, of course, and it's a great play. But to have a kid in that spot be a theft. I mean, that was a pick too. That wasn't like jumping the lane. Okay. I've got a question for Austin before you move us on. And resist the temptation to get too deep into this, because if it does happen, I just want to put it into the universe. Okay. Warsaw, Washington looms now. Okay. Every other team in the States, when they play Warsaw, is going to try to control tempo. Steve in Washington, I think, is going to lean into it. And I think they are going to try to run with them. So I just want to put that out in the universe, because that would be unbelievably entertaining for our eyes to be able to see. Can you further tease that for us if it were to happen in a week, and under the pretense that you're going to be back on if we do get that matchup prior?
Okay. Well, that's good to know for my scheduling purposes. B, I mean, Washington, you watch them play. They love the press, right? On defense, like they are up in your grill playing full court. Right? You mentioned Raya Wilson is she's a stealer out there, man. She's a thief in the night. Like she will take the ball away 3-4 times a game, almost automatically, no matter what. So you're going to have a great, 3-point shooting team in Warsaw, a very dynamic type of team in Washington. Will Washington's relative lack of depth maybe affect them, right? They played 8 players last night. So it's going to be fascinating if that matchup does happen and we get to see it. You've got a veteran coach at Warsaw, Lenny Krebs, who's been doing it a long time, but he's never really had this type of team and this type of run to go on, really, like to sink his teeth in fully, at least in recent memory. And you got Washington chasing their legacy, right? Like it would be a huge kind of like, there'd be endless storylines. I'd have like 15 stories to write just on that game alone next week. So it'd be a lot of fun. It'd be cool to see it. Hold it at either LaPorte or Jimtown, please, for my driving purposes. And then, be good to go. So.
Good stuff, Austin. Good stuff, man. Well, thanks again for hopping on with us, buddy. I appreciate it. I know you had a long night, have a long afternoon ahead.
Baby. 12:20 a.m. Pulled into that driveway. Nothing better than 8:30 p.m. Eastern starts on a Wednesday. Yeah.
Oh, man, that's brutal. Hey, if you want any other extra sectionals, I made the offer to Jim Gordillo. I'll make the same offer to you. I have 75 teams left, and I'll have 50 of them still standing after Saturday. So again, if you want some, I'm not greedy. I'm willing to share. And that's what makes me great.
Hey, I had weather move 3 of my sectionals to tonight. So we have quarterfinal games to be go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, girls basketball. Catch the fever, baby.
That's good stuff, buddy. That's good stuff. Well, thanks again, Austin. We'll talk to you again soon.
See ya.
See you, Austin.
That was Austin Hough of the South Bend Tribune. Danny, we're going to pivot right over to Lauren Votaw, head coach at Fishers. We're going to preview a little bit of sectional A talk with Lauren about her team season and everything like that. Lauren, how you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to see you. Great to talk with you. Let's start with your group and just your thoughts on the season overall. And you had the tough loss in overtime there to Lawrence North, but they bounced back nicely, obviously, with the win over Franklin Central and battled it out with HSC.
Yeah. I was really proud of this group. You always want your team to be playing your best basketball in January into February. And I really did feel like, moving in that last week of January, right there with Lawrence North, and then, got a good win over Franklin Central, and, really thought we played very well defensively in the sectional as well. Just, offensively couldn't get anything going against a really good defensive Southeastern team. But what a great group of seniors that we had, and just really proud of them for how they kind of developed as leaders as this season went on too.
Oh, speaking of those seniors, I mean, are there any favorite stories or anything that stands out to you when you think of that group? I mean, obviously I've gotten to know Nevaeh and Shoy pretty well, but just for you, what was it like being around them on a daily basis these past 4 years?
Well, they're all they're very different. And I think that made for an interesting leadership dynamic at times. You have Allison, who has a ton of varsity experience and is kind of a naturally born leader. She's, not afraid to tell people what to do and where to go, but also super competitive. And Nevaeh is more of a quiet type by nature, but she really, really came into her own as a leader this season too, and was our kind of like practice energy as she went, we went. And then Olivia Brookshire, just cool story for that kid. Tears her ACL late June, and just in a summer thing, and just worked her absolute tail off to get back, and comes back against Evansville Central and hits her first shot she takes. And it gives us a great spark, some great depth defensively, and then academically they're all over a 4.0. So just really good kids on and off the floor.
Seems like there was more. There's not a lack of continuity. I mean, it seems like we've always really known the pieces. Yes, Allison was there and Nevaeh was there, but then you have this influx of talent that came from the JV team. Of course, Shellhammer there as a freshman. So talk about your seniors and what they had to do, just kind of keeping the team together and progressing, because when you have new teams, I mean, sometimes we don't even know as fans, and you don't even know as the coach who you're going to be. So surely they had to like hold the team together through the season, right, Lauren?
Oh yeah. And we had our ups and our downs, and we knew going in that was going to be the case, and that we were going to have to stay together, and that if we could weather the storm, we were going to give ourselves a chance in February. And that was always the goal. Just stay together, keep growing. And Allison and Nevaeh, Allison in particular, she was in a completely different role this year. We asked her to move to the point position, which is not anywhere that she has ever been. And that kid did it without complaining ever. And I was asking her to do some things leadership wise. I was having lots of conversations with her, like, hey, here's where we need you today. Here's what we need from you today as far as a leader goes. And these are some things you can be thinking as far as a leader goes. And they did a nice job of, this whole team, I mean, really, for the most part, did a really nice job of just staying true to the process and trusting what we were trying to do. And like I said, we gave ourselves a chance in February to be playing our best basketball. And, that's all I can ask.
Lauren, what impresses me most about covering your teams is just your ability to maximize the players' talents and get the most out of your group year over year. And I'm curious, with the changes that you have in personnel and faces change and all that, how much changing do you have to do within your philosophy? Like, how many tweaks and things do you make to extrapolate that talent?
Well, first of all, thank you for that compliment. I'm going to deflect a lot of that to my coaching staff, who just really helps me a ton with all of that. But we have to do some. For several years there, we were very much, running the same stuff. We had the same type of player, when we had Haley and Olivia Smith and Talia and Joe, we were, we were running the same kind of stuff. And then, now we have post players, which during that run, we didn't really have a true post player. And so now we're kind of having to look, okay, so what's some stuff we need to run around that? And I am not a coach that is afraid to, change if I need to change based on what we have. Obviously, as a coach, you like to go with what you're the most comfortable teaching and coaching, but also part of our job is learning and growing. And so we have had to, and, looking ahead to next season, we're going to have to look at that again. What do we have and what's going to be the best to keep us successful? But, in the long run, we try to stay true to who we are as a program the best we can, as far as the way we do things and the way we treat one another. And then we hope that the adjustments we make on the basketball side will pay off.
Let's spin this forward to sectional 8. You've had as good of a record in that sectional recently. I don't have any stats to back it up, but just anecdotally, it just kind of feels like you are always in relevant games and a lot of times winning them. You've coached against Sydney Parrish in the famous Tamia Perriman 14-point fourth quarter game. Let's see, you got Shade and Wilson and Tipner to deal with at Noblesville, Kate Clark at Carmel, among others, Crockett at Westfield, and now Maya. Okay, so you had her in Mudsock, you had her in the sectional. She goes out and gets 20. You make it very difficult. What kind of problems did she present for you on Tuesday night, or was it really something else?
Well, first of all, Maya presents a problem because she is going to keep working. you'll play a lot of really good players who, I mean, Michaela Triplett did a phenomenal job, and she was chasing that kid all over the place. And a lot of players would have just folded. But Maya continued to work. And when she took her opportunities, she took advantage of them. I mean, the shots she hit were tough, coming off screens, coming off handoffs, 15-foot pull-ups with hands in her faces. I mean, just tough shots. And that is the mark of a truly talented, gifted player who's a senior who is able to handle all of that. And so credit to her for doing that. I really was, overall very pleased with how we defended Hamilton Southeastern. I mean, I think we held them to 47, 46, 7 points. And that was, our kids followed the game plan for the most part to a T. You have to try to slow Maya down and make sure that KK can't get going or Stidham can't get going. KK had 11 on us. But overall, credit to Maya. She, like I said, she doesn't slow down. And we have, we every year you got players like, very, very good players that you have to try to contend with.
You've also had a tremendous amount of success, particularly in the postseason against Donna Buckley and what she does defensively, which is starting to be a little bit unique. Obviously, there's the connection between you and Donna and sharing some of the same philosophies and being very good friends and the history and all of that. But, the 1-3-1, the flat 3-2, the box and 1, the triangle and 2. I mean, Westfield is going to be in action also on Friday. You didn't play them last week or earlier this week, but talk about them and just some of your experiences and what you got to be ready for in facing them.
In facing Westfield.
And facing Noblesville. Yeah, just the different defenses.
Well, so they are so unique in what they do. And that is, that's tough in the postseason. And don't want to say it's easier, but our players are more familiar with it than someone that they see maybe, in the regional, the semi-state, because they don't see it at all. But what Donna is able to do is really just mix it up and use what she has. The 1-3-1 is obviously very hard because the pressure that it presents with Tipner at the top of it. But then if you beat that and she decides to switch back to her, her flat 3-2, then you got to find ways to knock shots down from the outside because they cover up the middle really, really well. And then obviously at any point she can go to one of her junk defenses, the box, the triangle, and any variation that she has of that. And her kids are just so good at adapting to play all those different defenses. You can tell that they've played them a lot. And we as opponents to that just don't see it as much. And so I think that is Noblesville's tactical advantage, is the fact that teams don't see those defenses nearly as much. You have a ridiculous athlete in Meredith Tipner that is just all over the place at the top of that thing and forces all kinds of turnovers and just makes everybody's life really difficult. And then you have other kids that are just bought in. I mean, I think that's the other thing about Noblesville every year they get to this time and they have kids who in the beginning of the year, you don't even know what their name is. And then you get to the sectional and these kids are ready to step up and hit a big shot in a big moment.
Yeah. So, her name is Kate Rollins, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kate Rollins. Right.
Great example. Yeah.
Against Pendleton Heights the other night, I know they ended up losing the game, but it was Maya Blower. These are kids that, at the beginning of the year, but that's a credit to Donna and to that culture. Those kids build one another up as the year goes on so that when they get to February, those kids are confident and ready to make the big play.
What does Kelsey do at Westfield? I mean, their ability to just hold, they don't score a ton of points, but they don't give up many either. I mean, it's like they're happy to win a game 32-30 and it'll just, kind of just drag it down, I guess. What is she doing that's working so well over there defensively?
I mean, I think our score was 32-31. And but I'm pretty sure that you'll have to fact check that, but I'm pretty sure we were 32-31. Here's what they do, right? First of all, they do what they do. And they switch everything. Doesn't matter who they're playing. They do what they do. They are 100% bought in to her. They're 100% bought into what they do. And they have a tight-knit culture and a community over there. And once again, you look at that roster and these are good players, right? But if you compare it to the caliber of kid that's on some of these other teams, it's not the same. But they find ways to stay in games, and then they like I said, they're so familiar with what they do and so confident in what they do, and they don't care. I mean, that's the other thing that you have to do when you have teams like that are willing to win 32, 31 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Your kids have to be patient enough and trust the process enough to know that winning that way is okay. And kudos to her for developing that culture in her kids, because they're going to grind it out with you.
32-30, I nailed it. That was your final score against Westfield, so that makes up for it.
Yeah. I
just pulled those numbers. So one last one for you, Lauren, and we'll get you out of here. Just the job that Jen Drudge is doing at Zionsville. Mackenzie Chapman's having a great year. Emma Tinder out of nowhere. One of those kids similar to Noblesville, where she averaged like a point a game last year, played sparingly. She's suddenly averaging double digits. Caroline Sampson's a senior, but established. Just speak, I guess, to what you're seeing from Jen and what it's been like coaching against her this season.
Yeah, I really like Jen Drudge, and I like, the way that she, I like the approach that she's had with her kids just all year when I've talked with her. And they've struggled, right? At times they've struggled, but she has just been positive, and she's always been like, I really like coaching my team. I really like coaching my team. And, that goes a long way when you get to this point. She's got young kids that are starting to play some really good basketball. And, who knows what's going to happen tomorrow night. But she does. I think that they believe, and once again, they're in a positive place. And obviously I had a great deal of respect for Andy. I had the opportunity to coach with him on the All-Stars last year, and just see kind of what he does up close. And so I know that he established some really great things at Zionsville. And I knew that when she took over, they were just going to continue to climb, because she's just a great person for that job.
Yeah, to Lauren's point, too, about the positivity, I was at practice working on a story about Maddie Nolan. And just like you said, when they're preparing for HSC, it's just positivity. Here's what Carmel did. We can do this, too. You just got to believe in yourselves, and just your ability to instill that belief is really impressive with those kids.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, Lauren, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. It's and congratulations to you on the season and everything. And we'll be talking to you again here soon, I'm sure.
All right. Thanks, Hank. Thanks, Danny.
Thanks, Lauren. See you.
Yep, yeah.
Lauren Votaw, head coach at Fishers. Danny, we're just keeping this thing going, buddy. We're chugging right along. That's right. Just for once, we're kind of on schedule. We're joined now by Jerry Hickey and Elise Coleman of Floyd Central. Jerry and Elise, how are you guys doing?
We're doing okay.
Yeah.
It's great to talk with you guys. Great to see you. Floyd Central 21-4 going into sectional. They won their first game against Jeffersonville. They got Seymour up next. If all things go according to plan, they'll play either Bedford, North Lawrence, or New Albany in Saturday sectional championship. I'll start the conversation nice and broad and just ask you guys about your season and how things have been going for you.
Okay. Well, we've had a good season, obviously, sitting here at 21-4. It was a big adjustment, new coach coming in, and we didn't get a whole lot of time together in the summer. By the time that I got down here, the girls, a lot of them had already scheduled different trips, vacations, tournaments, things in the summer. So I don't know that there was a day we were all together this summer. So then volleyball went to semi-state, so we get started 2 weeks late. That was 6 varsity contributors that were out for those two weeks. So new system, new everything. We were worried about the start we would get off to, and I think we win our first 10 or 11. So we've got a lot of experienced girls that have played a lot of times, some 3-year varsity starters, and just a lot of really talented players. So it helps to ease that transition. But we hit a little lull there right after Christmas. But I think we've worked through that and are maybe playing our best basketball of the season right now.
Yeah, no, it's definitely hard to come in with a new coach, especially with we've been playing with the same coach for years. But I think it was as smooth of a transition that you can have. We obviously started off the season very, very strong, which I think some of us weren't really expecting. So, but yeah, we came out, we played hard, we adjusted quick. It was fast, but I think that ended up for the better.
Elise, I congratulate you because you started with the volleyball team as well, right?
Yeah.
Congratulate you on that run. I think I got more emails about Floyd Central than I did a lot of teams in our coverage area. People told me to pay attention to you guys, so I tip my cap on a great run.
Yeah, no, it's kind of hard because you obviously want to make it far in volleyball postseason, but it's I want to get started with new coach and everything because I feel like I was missing out. But it ended up working out for the better. Made it to semi-state, and then obviously transitioned pretty easily.
I was going to ask about that. So does that further compound the transition, make it a little bit more difficult when, you have a summer where not everybody's together, and then the volleyball team just keeps winning. You just keep going deeper and deeper.
No, it's definitely hard, but it's like the best of both worlds. So it's like you're winning in the sport, but you get to start the other sport that you love quick. So, I mean, it makes it difficult, but we all adjusted pretty fast with the help of like the teammates that have been there. And so, yeah.
And I think maybe that's why we're playing a little better right now is, there was a point where I was scratching my head. Our motion offense is pretty complex, a lot of intricacies, and it just wasn't flowing like I expected. And then I kind of stopped and I was like, well, when we hit it the hardest, I mean, 6 of our main players weren't there. So we've gone back and now I think the transition's fully come full circle and it's starting to look a lot better.
So, Jerry, how do you handle those first few weeks of practice when, you're missing a bunch of kids and all that? Like, how do you figure things out and how much teaching can you even do, I guess, when you don't have a full deck?
It was a big adjustment because it was so brand new. And I kicked it around with the assistant coaches and said, hey, do we go through this? When we put our motion in, it's step by step for the first 5 days, starting from scratch. And so I debated that, whether we should wait until they got there and just run a lot of continuity sets until they got here. But we opted to go ahead and put it in and try to catch them up along the way. And so that's the way we went. And then just some time in the summer, they did have a little understanding from the time we did have. It wasn't everybody together, but we had bits and pieces together. So, and just a lot of really smart kids helps a lot too.
So I'll ask a two-parter first for you, Jerry. Is this the same offense that you ran at Salem? And then Elise, for you, how was it learning coach's new offense and what makes it unique?
Yeah, it's the same thing. We run just a version of the read and react that I've tweaked to kind of fit what I want to do. So basically the same, a lot of the same calls. I've had some of my past girls from Salem come and watch this year, and after the game tell me, it was like, oh, when you were calling these out, I remember these. And it's like, yep, I knew that one. Yep, I knew that one. So it's kind of the if it's not broke, don't fix it thing. We had quite a bit of success at Salem doing it. And so we've got some great players here that can do it as well.
Yeah, no, I think the main difference is just the way we do our motion. It's like something that I never really have done, like the things that he harps on. Just like I feel like I've improved so much in just like moving as soon as I pass it or like move away. I think I get in, especially at the beginning of the season, I would get in a lull just like standing. As soon as I pass it, I would just stand. So as the season progressed, like fixing that, but also like with the calls, I think in the summer we learned some of the basic ones, and then just he would add a couple new in every single week. So like with a whole new team learning, like usually you would have seniors that could teach the underclassmen, but it was everything's new. So, but yeah, just slowly learning and doing it every single day. It would take like probably 15 minutes of practice just to go through our calls, just like skeleton offense. So I think that helps a lot.
For both of you, and Elise, we'll start with you. Just the 20-plus wins, the 21 wins are the most that the program has had since 2009-10. The sectional win is the first one in a number of years. Just, Elise, for you getting to be part of this, when could you kind of feel that confidence coming along and things coming together? And Jerry, you too, from a coach's perspective, how have you guys seen that all come together and just kind of that belief, I guess, of developing that culture?
Yeah, no, I mean, last year after our season ended, I think we knew that we're building something big. And I think that we can, like, in the next year, like we have a good base, like we can make a run for this. So, but even like starting in the summer, like we were just working so well together. I think people knew, all the team, like all the players knew that we can do something. Like we have so much talent, so we just had to put it together. But I mean, when we beat Silver Creek early in the season, like that was, I think it was a huge confidence booster. Like guys, like this is a good team with very good players, and it's like we're beating this team like weekend, and then we beat Fishers, which was not really expected. I think we're the big underdogs there. So I mean, once we had those big wins going into our holiday tournament, I was like, guys, like this is going to be a good season. Like we're doing something really big here.
And I knew there was a lot of talent with them. We've played against them the last few years, so I knew the players were definitely here. And then the summer, we kind of hit the ground running. I mean, I said it several times, we didn't have everybody, but I think we're like 11-2 in the summer, even throwing things in. And we set some lofty goals, and I set some in the back of my mind that maybe I didn't even share with the team, that I thought of what we could do. And the buy-in has been amazing from the girls. Just we've clicked real well as a program, and our team chemistry is one of our greatest strengths. And I think when you have that, especially coaching girls, that's really important.
Jerry, I'll give you a chance to brag on Elise a little bit. I mean, look at her numbers are just insane as expected. 16 points a game, couple assists, 3 steals a game, just all around, 19 blocks too. Just an all around player. Just tell us what makes her such a special talent.
Her competitiveness, her ability. I harp on her all the time. Like I'm on her so harder than anybody else. And because the expectations are there, and, but I'm also honest with her, and I tell her, you're one of the reasons why I'm here. Like, everybody wants a chance to coach somebody with the ability that she has, and just the drive. You're talking about a 3-sport star, that has 7 AP classes and, a 4.8 GPA and all those things. So even there are nights where I'll look down and I'll realize that I've kind of ridden her all game, and we'll look up and she's 6 for 9 from the floor, with 19 points, 8 rebounds, a couple steals. And so you're like, gosh, why was I so hard on her tonight? But I think it is the expectation, and she plays with this confidence that makes it look too easy at times. And so I'm like, you got to play harder. You got to do these things. And then we stop, and I'm thinking she just is so talented that it just looks easier for her than it does other people most of the time. So it's been great. It's been everything that I hoped it would be.
Elise, you're a heck of a player. Congratulations on a great regular season so far. Just before I ask my question, is it college basketball in the future? Like, I think your recruitment is still open, right? I mean, give us an update there.
Yeah, no, I think I've kind of honed in on basketball. I played through middle school. I played travel and softball and volleyball as well. So I think, but once you get to high school, you have to kind of start dialing it in. And I knew that I just enjoy basketball way more than the others. I still love volleyball, love softball. Like, high school seasons are so fun with that. But I think, like, in the future, I'm like, I want to be playing basketball. So yeah, no, recruitment for basketball has been going. Good
for you guys. Well, obviously you have the name recognition and the player that comes in, Coach Hickey and Elise. And then, Elise had alluded to it. You get some really big wins, Silver Creek and Fishers earlier in the year, that kind of validates you. Silver Creek, Jennings County with kids like Woodard and Wren, they go down to 3A. You get the graduation of Bedford North Lawrence. What's been different about preparing for this run, maybe as the favorite for the first time? Has that been something that you've leaned into or you've shied away from? But there's no question that it's a different feel down there in that sectional. Bedford North Lawrence hasn't lost a game in 12 years down there. But you guys are the ones that everybody is expecting to move right. So talk about that.
Hey, it's funny that we could go from something that hasn't won a sectional game in 12 or 13 years, whatever it's been, to being so confident so fast. And I think it was – the play. When I got down here, we had gaps in our schedule, and I immediately said, we want to fill them with the best teams we can get. We found that shootout where we could play Fishers. We played in the Body Armor Classic, and we were hoping to get, a top-notch out-of-state team right there. It ended up a team dropped, and so, the team we played, no disrespect to them. I mean, they were good. I think they finished with 15, 17 wins, but we were up on them 53-19 at half. We just came out smoking. And then, of course, just our schedule around here is really good. So we wanted to play the toughest we could, and so we could prepare for the tournament. And I just think our confidence just kind of skyrocketed there in the beginning, and it's gone through. So, I remind them, of course, all the time, hey, we play Seymour at Seymour. They're 8-1 in their last 9 games. They're playing well. And if you win that, you probably get the 12-time defending sectional champs. So can't take anything for granted. We know we got to show up and go to work tomorrow, and hopefully that'll translate over to Saturday.
What's the ceiling? You kind of mentioned your and sorry, Lisa, I got cut you off. I'll give you. But what's the ceiling? You mentioned some of the individual goals. I mean, is there something that you can share with our audience?
Well, everybody dreams of playing up at Gamebridge, of course, and we know that's a long way away. But I just think with our confidence, we like the way we stack up, and you don't want to look ahead, but every coach and player probably looks ahead. And I think if we are fortunate to get out of sectional, we match up real well with some regional and semi-state teams. And, that Lauren Central, is always looming down there. And you know how good they are, and a lot of good Indianapolis teams. But even our losses to the Northridge, to Westfield, we're right in those games, tied with 2 minutes to go. And so I feel like we can beat anybody on any given night. Now, if we ever are lucky enough to play a Lawrence Central or a Hamilton Southeastern, then we know it's going to take a great effort. But we're just hoping to win each one game at a time and see where it takes us.
Sometimes in these postseason games too, Coach Hickey, and you know this because you've probably been one of them, sometimes you just load up and try to give a better basketball team something that they haven't seen, okay? Maybe they drape a couple defenders on Elise or whatever. I mean, and you need to rely on other players within your team. Talk about some of the other players outside of, Elise and who you expect or who you expect good postseason play from.
Yeah, I mean, Samara Miller's our senior point guard. She's a returning HHC first team all-conference kid and handles the ball for us. Every shot she shoots, we expect it to go in. I mean, she's a great shooter, just has a great attitude and is our leader on the floor. Brinley Clark, same thing. She was all-conference last year. She's a junior. She's our second leading scorer. We had to play without her the last week. Just after taking a shot to the head, we gave her some rest towards the end of the season. Then we start two other seniors. Nora Gibson's our 6-foot post player that's just a defensive machine out there and gets rebounds. She can score it. And Ava House helps us with our ball handling. She usually guards the best player, the best guard on the other team every night. And then we've got a deep bench. Riley Roberts is sophomore, 6'2", and she has exploded here in the last month. She's been our leading scorer in a couple games and has just really – she had 9 blocks in the first half the other night against Providence and has come along. So Mia John Fania, she's usually off the bench as our 6th man and just a ton of defense. And then we've got a set of twins, Ava and Eva Castile, that come in and just bring a ton of energy. And so, we feel like we can go 9 deep any night, anytime we need to.
Well, congratulations so far. I'll throw it back to Hank, but I'll interject this. I think maybe after the Silver Creek sectional loss last year, we were on one of these post-wrap shows, and we talked about how because of realignment and Elise kind of coming into her own with her own game, that we almost kind of prognosticated that you guys were going to be very good. That's a very difficult thing to do is meet and exceed expectations that other people set on you. So just from one coach to another, congratulations. We expect to see you guys around. I'll throw it back to Hank and let him kind of close out the conversation.
I want to ask Elise, you played 3 sports, you're a standout softball player. That team also runs deep, so you kind of lose some of your summer. You lose a lot of your winter for basketball or for volleyball. Why do you play 3 sports? What's kept you going for 3 sports in this era when, that's really uncommon, especially to play 3 sports at the level you do?
Yeah, no, I love everything with sports. I love the competitive nature of it. I think I'm just driven when it comes to sports. I think I was picking up some sort of ball when I was 2. I think I've always felt natural with playing sports. But it's where I find it's where all my friends are. It's where I find my social outing. I have fun with it. So yeah, it's busy, but it's I wouldn't have it any other way. It's hard in the spring with softball because AAU starts to pick up. So, sometimes it gets discouraging not being able to make 2 people happy because I have to miss one for the other. But, it comes with the territory. I'm blessed to be able to play 3 sports at a pretty high level. So I just, I don't take that for granted. So I just keep playing.
Did you ever think of giving one up?
I've thought about it before, but I just don't think I could. I think I would miss it more than I would gain from not playing it. So, I think softball I fell back in love with it. I think right before high school, I was I don't want to play. It's too much. But then I started to kind of find the love for it again. So just keep playing.
And it helps when you're really good at it. Let's, in the sectional finals, she hits 2 home runs, a double, 6 RBIs. And so, yeah, that makes it a little bit more fun.
I was looking through some of those box scores, actually, as Danny was asking a couple questions there. I had a pretty good line there, Elise. So with this team this year, it doesn't look like it from the scores, but I'm curious from being in there, boots on the ground, all that. was there a learning curve? Like, did you have to learn how to win, how to close out games, or was that mentality already kind of there and you just had to sharpen it, so to speak?
No, I think we had to, even last year, just going back and looking and watching some film. I mean, that Silver Creek sectional game you mentioned, they had a 16-point lead in the fourth quarter and didn't close it out. And so I think that comes with the territory. We dropped a game that will haunt me probably for a while at Lanesville, and it was the perfect situation. We had a 9-point lead in the fourth, and we couldn't throw it in the ocean. I mean, we missed a couple of bunnies under the basket. They had a player step up that wasn't one of their main scorers that hits 8 points in the fourth, and they beat us at the buzzer. And I think I was talking to another coach that was at the game, and she said it perfect. She said, they're a team that's used to winning. You're a team that's getting used to winning. And I thought that was really good. And I told our girls that. But then it was like we kind of saw a transformation after that. And now we've been closing out games. And, Jeff played us real well on Tuesday. But heading into that fourth quarter, we just had a confidence that you knew we were going to take care of business down the stretch.
Last question for me, and I was going to actually ask about that 2-game swing. I mean, you go Borden, Lanesville, they're two perennial powers in Class A. Now they're split up. Borden looks to be a contender in Class A, Lanesville in Class 2A. I'd love to hear your impressions of those teams. If you want to start with Borden and tell me about Lanesville, I'd love to hear from both of you about those teams.
Yeah, I mean, Borden, I think Borden has a legitimate chance to win the state championship just with their length and ability. If they come out and shoot the ball well, they can beat anybody. I think LCC is pretty hot up north, but we really like Borden. Lanesville, they just win. That was a game I never thought for a second we'd drop this year, just to be perfectly honest. And I thought we only trailed one time the entire game, but they know how to win, and they've got 3 just really strong players. But, they're going to have to meet South Knox pretty early, and that'll be a real tough draw for them. Now they're 2A, so tougher road, but 2 great teams.
Yeah, I think both those teams, they just have a fan base that's insane behind them. They're used to winning. They're good at what they do, and their community all comes together. So we playing both of those games away this year, I think kind of took us for a loop. Just like it's a different environment, especially when you have everyone rooting against you. So I mean, both those teams that have players that can play. And I think we may have taken them a little bit lightly going into it because I think we knew that we should win this game by a good amount. And dropping Lanesville was hard, but I think we needed that loss, honestly. So, they're 2 very strong teams that will probably make it far.
Yeah, crazy things happen. I mean, we lost one of our seniors with an ACL tear in the second quarter, and then we lost our senior post player there in the second quarter with a concussion from an elbow, and just some crazy things kind of happen within some of those games sometimes, which are good to prepare you for the tournament.
There's intended levity, I think, with this question. Okay, but I'd love to hear how you guys respond to it. If you're fortunate enough to get to the Saturday night sectional championship, do you want Bedford? I mean, it's been their crown forever. Does it matter? Or is there a little bit of, we have to take it from them because they've worn it for 12 years. Do you want Bedford?
Well, somebody asked me that the other day, and I said, well, to quote the icon Ric Flair, to be the man, you got to beat the man. And so I think there's definitely parts of us that do want to go through Bedford. But, if we are fortunate enough to get there, on the flip side, it's New Albany, your county rival. So there are good parts about both. Obviously, tons of respect for the Bedford program and what they've done. So knocking them off kind of puts an extra stamp on it. But beating the rival would be pretty good. But most importantly, we got to beat Seymour tomorrow night.
Right. Sorry to put you in that position, Jerry. You handled it great. Elise, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think basically something I've been thinking about it too. It'll be fun either way. New Albany, kind of like the biggest county rival, I think, around here. We've always gone head to head, so that would be a really cool opportunity. But also, Bedford's won it for how many ever years, and it's hurt the past couple of years getting absolutely destroyed by them. So, it would feel good, but like you said, it got to be Seymour first.
Good stuff. You both gave the right answer to that. Danny tried to set you up for a trap, but you navigated it definitely.
Well, listen, Elise was 4 years old the last time Bedford lost a sectional. Okay, so let's just it's the most dynastic run in the sectional that anybody had in any of these sheets, really. So
And they remember that. We were playing Bedford a couple weeks ago, and the game we had running clock, and somewhere in the third quarter, and I looked down, I said, we need to pull the press off. And our assistant that's been here a long time said,
you don't want to upset
we've been on the other end of a lot of these. So, but we still pulled it off knowing we would see them again. And, weird things happen in the sectional.
That's smart. Well, thank you guys both so much. Sorry, I think we probably went over 15 minutes, but really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you guys so much for hopping on with us, and I'm sure I'll be seeing you in person, either semi-state or potentially down at Gamebridge. So best of luck to you guys moving forward.
Appreciate you. Thanks for having us.
Thanks. Take care. That was Jerry Hickey, Elise Coleman from Floyd Central. We've also been joined by Lauren Votaw, Austin Hough. Before then, Kristi Ulrich, head coach at Penn, is working on a camera situation, so we'll have her on momentarily. Danny, just quick thoughts on Floyd Central before we bring on Kristi.
They're very good. The Elise Coleman is a name. I would encourage all of our audience to watch her. She's a 6-foot lefty. She has 3-level scoring, and it's deep too. I mean, she'll launch them from the volleyball line. If you go in, I don't think so they're loaded in max preps, but we've taken a look at their statistics. The metrics are exactly where they need to be. They're above the line of demarcation for everything: for field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, field goal, 3-point, and free throw percentage. I actually almost forgot, to be honest, that Jerry had joined this, but this was relatively expected. Like, you mentioned kids like Castile and Coleman. I just want to echo the point that I made during the interview, that it is a difficult thing to do when other people are telling you how good you are. You have to really remain focused. But that kid's really good. The Indianapolis audience, the Northern audience, the people that aren't that familiar with Floyd Central, put an eye on them down there, because they could very well, I don't know, maybe be the opponent that stands in Lauren Central's way to a repeat, for example, in semi-state. I think they're going to be around for a minute, Hank. I like them.
Played a really good schedule too here as we get ready to bring on Kristi. He mentioned Fishers, Westfield, Silver Creek, Northridge, Borden, Lanesville back-to-back. Then they played Gordon Central down the stretch, Austin, and Jeffersonville. I had a chance to see them against North Knox. That's an athletic team. They got some pieces there that on the right night they could spur.
Yeah, that's where Dansby is. I mean, so they're really good too.
They're going to be a force. They'll take the winner of that sectional out of Evansville, the one that's like the Cracker, Reitz.
Right. Yeah, right.
Yeah, so they'll play the winner there. Gibson Southern, Castle playing tomorrow night, and then Evansville Wrights is the other one to watch there. We'll go ahead and move on now. Kristi Ulrich, head coach of Penn, joins us. Kristi, thank you so much for hopping on with us. How are you? How are you doing?
I'm sad. But today's a new day, and we've got to be able to look forward and move forward. It's just unfortunate, losing that big of a game by 1 point, sure does sting. It hurts. But we have to be optimistic and move forward.
I'll ask just the general view question before we dive into specifics, just your thoughts on the game and how things progressed. It kind of just felt like the inexperience maybe factored in a little bit later in the game.
I think that's definitely, definitely factors into it. I had 2 freshmen, I had sophomores, juniors, and really predominantly 1 senior on the floor. And for most of those younger girls, this was the biggest game of their entire life. So we want to be able to take some things from that, obviously, and grow and move forward with the players that we have coming back. But it was just a absolute defensive slugfest. We wanted to be right there, at the end of the game, not allow them to go on a massive run with their pressure. And get ourselves in a big hole. And, we were able to kind of navigate and prevent that from happening. And, we were, like I said, we were right there at the end.
That sequence at the end of regulation, if you could just talk through us from the timeout right before the free throws, right? You got a chance to talk to the team. Just talk us through the discussions and then just how you saw things unfold and then what happened on the floor there.
Well, obviously, it related into a turnover, going the other direction. We had something that we wanted to be able to do and not necessarily use Jessa because they were up in her face all night long. But we just didn't execute in that situation. And then coming up with the turnover and then having to foul and send them into the free throw line. So we knew what we wanted to go after, but we just didn't get it in that situation.
You mentioned kind of the game flow and I can't recall the exact quote that you had, but the style of play and the style of the game, was that by design, Kristi? I mean, did you go into the basketball game thinking I want to get into slugfest is what you call it. I want to get into a slugfest. I want to keep this thing low, or was that something you're just like, oh my God, this is a slugfest?
We did not want to get in a track meet with South Bend, Washington, because that just plays right into what they want to do. So we really wanted to control the tempo. I didn't expect the tempo to be to that where it was as far as a point total, but I didn't feel like it was, there wasn't a significant amount of. I mean, some people probably look at the score and think, well, oh, we were just, everybody was just stalling, and when you look at the game overall as a whole, I mean, that's not necessarily how it played out. Both teams struggled to score for stretches within the game. We had a great defensive game plan, I feel. They did as well. So points were just really hard to come by overall.
How do you game plan? Oh, go ahead, Danny. I'm sorry.
Well, and so once you decide that this basketball game is kind of a field goal game, if you will, no one's really getting into the end zone. Was there a big shift in your adjust? I mean, did you adjust to that in regards to like, hey, listen, we have to do this a little bit differently on the offensive side, or how did that play? Just from a coaching perspective, I ask just as another coach.
Yeah, I mean, when we're in that situation, we just had to try to force them. We wanted to try to force them in situations, especially down the stretch. If we had an open look, we wanted to be able to take it, because again, even shots were hard to come by. A shot with an opportunity to score a bucket is better than a turnover going the other direction, especially when you're playing South Bend, Washington. So we really wanted to take the best available first look that we were able to get. We had some girls that were open and passed up a few shots, especially down the stretch, that we had been encouraging them for quite some time, like, we need to have you look to take these shots, and maybe we necessarily didn't. But we just wanted to stay true to what our game plan was, and if it was available, we wanted to let it fly.
Hank's going to ask you about the youth eventually, but I'm going to ask specifically about Jessa. Tell us about Jessa Troy. I'll just kind of leave it as arbitrary as that. Tell us whatever you want.
Well, I've known Jessa since she was in second grade, watched her go throughout our entire feeder program, and to see what she has done collectively, as an individual, you can look at, all of where she falls within our, career scoring and all of those types of things. But I mean, Jessa Troy to me is a definite sleeper in the class of 2025. Someone is going to land an absolute gym rat, a kid that can flat out just stroke the ball. And she brings a level of toughness, as well. I mean, you look at some other statistics. I mean, she's right up there, our second leading rebounder, overall at being a 5'6" guard. She's kind of playing out of position a lot for us this year as a point guard. I feel she's more as like a true two, but her ability to be able to pass the ball, has definitely elevated and has excelled, and her just overall leadership. I mean, the kid is 1,000-point scorer, at a large 4A school. I believe that she finished 5th or 6th all time in scoring. And that's a lot to say because, I've coached a lot of, extremely high level players, and, for Jessa to be able to do that, it's just a terrific accomplishment. A 3-time first team all NIC player for us, and she's just had an overall terrific career for us, and somebody's going to land an absolute gem. I mean, I know that I've been like trying to find this girl a home at the next level because she absolutely deserves it. She's a culture contributor. She's going to put in the work. She's going to improve her game and do whatever that coach needs her to do at the next level.
To quantify that she can stroke it, she's shooting mid-40s from the field, mid-40s from three. She has a positive assist and steals to turnover ratio. I mean, the kid does it all. And then you mentioned the leadership watching her last night. I mean, it seemed like just watching, obviously, from 100 miles away, kind of that calming effect as things are kind of speeding up. She's there to try and help calm things down a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. That's some of the talks that we've had with her leading up to this season and, throughout the season that, you're the only one that's been in this situation consistently in big games, and you have to have that calming effect on all of your teammates. So that way they're able to learn and you're able to keep them in a positive frame of mind, moving through those positions of adversity as the game continues to ebb and flow.
we talk about it during the season. We talked about it earlier today with Lauren Votaw, and just building confidence in kids and getting ready for moments like this. For your team specifically, I'm curious, going into the regular season matchup, when you're down a couple players, you're playing big bad Washington, that's not, I didn't mean that in a bad way, obviously, but
yeah.
How do you inspire confidence to get them ready to go toe to toe with them like you did the first time? And then how does that feed into what we saw last night?
I mean, you just have to continue to rely on your preparation, and you have to get the kids to, obviously, the confidence starts within themselves. I'm a firm believer of that. You can talk up and pump them up and all those types of things, but you have to trust the preparation and trust the work that you've invested within yourself. And it's a situation where the kids have more, they don't have that heavy weight on their shoulder because they're able to play free. We're the underdogs. We're not supposed to win. You look on paper and they have three high level Division I players, and we've got nothing to lose to go out there and just play hard and play to our absolute best capability and let the cards fall where they may. So the pressure in either of those situations obviously was not on us, and we just wanted to be there at the end in both of those games, even when we were down a couple of kids early on in the season.
Kristi, that's such a smart thing to hear you say, that you lean into being an underdog, because you're the head coach at Penn. You guys very rarely are the underdog ever. And next year you won't be. You won't be the underdog next year. You will be the alpha in that area. So does anything change from how you approach the off season with some of your younger kids and with you? And you've done it both ways. So just talk to us about kind of as you lead into the off season.
Well, our off-season focus will be going and really addressing, weaknesses individually with our players in areas that we know that they need to progress and grow in order to, have that stage set to have success when it comes time for next season. So having a lot of our kids that are younger kids get a ton of experience this season, I feel will really just bode well, moving into next year. But it's all about starting with that individual growth first. If an individual improves, then the team's going to collectively grow together, as well. So, again, it's when the sectional draw comes out, it's like, good, let's go. And, whatever happens, but we're just going to keep continuing to grow and get better. And I know that we will have girls coming back next season that are going to be hungry for more. So they've kind of gotten the taste of, I know how bad they wanted it, but again, this is what it takes to be able to win the sectional or advance in the state tournament. And, we've definitely gotten our feet wet from those regards with our young kids.
Can you go a little bit more granular with some of your young kids? I mean, Hummel, I've seen you on film a bunch of times, and these are good players. Hummel's a great player. Just introduce the statewide audience and just educate us a little bit on that youth and with some of the specifics.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with, my two freshmen, which really played a significant role for us this season. Addison Hummel, a 6-foot freshman forward, she's just really savvy around the basket. She has great hands, which probably comes from playing, some volleyball as well, because she is a multi-sport athlete. She has great hands, the ability to be able to finish around the rim. Pretty consistent at the free throw line, but Addie, the ceiling is the absolute limit. I think, she keeps continuing to invest in her work. I mean, geez, how many times do you have a freshman kid that's basically averaging, 11 points, 8 rebounds a game, with the tough juggernaut schedule that we actually play. So getting her to kind of, expand her range, being more consistent from the free throw line. Obviously, we have an amazing strength and conditioning program here. She's going to keep continuing to grow from the physicality standpoint, because she's going to draw a lot of attention, moving forward into next year, as she started to in the later part of the season. So, she just has a tremendous high ceiling for us. Our other freshman, Lexi Werner, she's kind of a guard forward combo for us. Lexi had to play a little bit out of position at the beginning of the season, especially when Addie went out and she was hurt for 4 games, and Anna McCullough, one of our other sophomores, was out with an illness. So Lexi had to play some inside for us. But she has the ability to step out to the perimeter, knock the 3 down, hit the mid-range game, but she can also go inside and rebound well for us and play that post spot. So So she has a lot of versatility for her game. And obviously that is a matchup nightmare when you have a player that can play inside, outside, for us. So those two girls were our freshmen that really just kind of stepped to the forefront and, like I said, started the majority of the games, played and logged big minutes for us in big games. So I feel like that should really help them moving forward. And then, if we want to talk a little bit about some of our other younger kids from a sophomore standpoint, Olivia Dawson got very minimal varsity minutes last year as a freshman, but logged, a tremendous amount of minutes for us this year. She's able to handle the point. She's got a really excellent mid-range game. She can knock the three down, and she's just a really, really tough kid overall. And, I think that she's going to continue to grow and get better. And our other sophomore, Anna McCullough, she was out for a significant amount of time with a very serious illness. And, just having her presence on the floor and her leadership, she was one of our captains this year. So when she came back, she just kind of gave us that extra, as I said, piece of leadership and toughness out there on the court for us.
The draw of it all, Kristi, I saw your comments, Austin, but I'd like to explore that too with you. Just share the audience your reaction to the draw and just how you approached that whole side of this postseason tournament we have here.
Well, I mean, you can approach it one of two ways. You basically cry and pout about it, and you say, well, that's not fair. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of things that happen in life that aren't fair, and that's what we teach our kids. So when the draw came out, we basically use the word good, and the word is good. Let's go ahead and let's prepare. Now we have time to prepare. We don't have to worry about legs. We don't have to worry about bumps and bruises. We have all of this time to get ourselves ready, for, what a lot of people were saying is this is potentially when those two teams meet, that's for the sectional championship. Whether that, is true or not, but if you look at the statistics and records, but our whole mindset was good. If you could see the girls up close, they had the word good written on them somewhere on their body. And that was our mindset all the way up from after the draw is good, let's go. Good, we have time to prepare. Good, we have time to break down all of the film. That was our entire mindset going into once the draw came out.
I love that. That's awesome. And they fully bought in immediately. Like, obviously it's one thing to say it to them, but could you feel them genuinely believing in that?
Yeah, 100%. And to think about it any other way, is to me is you're getting the kids' minds to go where you don't want them to go. You're getting them to want sympathy, feel sorry for themselves with the draw, and you can't do that at this stage when the state tournament starts. You've got to be as prepared. You as a coach, you want to be as prepared as possible and prepare your team as much as possible. And this particular stage just kind of set us up for that, to be as prepared as we possibly could and not have to turn around from winning Friday night and play them on Saturday night with basically, zero preparation, because you can't overlook anyone, as you move throughout the tournament.
I'll openly admit to having sour grapes. I think that it's silly to have you guys out a couple nights into the tournament. I think it's silly up here to have Franklin Center Grove being bounced at this point of the season, another top 10 team. I think it's stupid, to be frank, but I'm curious for you, as somebody who's been around the game, been around Indiana for a lot longer than I have, what would be a better solution, I guess, assuming that you also think that maybe there's a better way to do it? What would that better way to do it look like for you?
Well, I mean, there's obviously lots of opinions that can kind of play into this role. I mean, Indiana likes kind of the thing of surprise with the sectional draw. In some regards, it would be nice to reward, the teams that have, a solid regular season, however they would go about, like whether it goes by wins and head-to-head contests. And, I'm sure there's a number of different ways that it could be broken down, which a committee could get together and put, something on paper. But it's unfortunate, not only for us, but as you mentioned, some of those other teams that have had a terrific season, in different pockets of the state, that you're not even going to pick up, one postseason win, on your overall resume. I feel that it should be something that's potentially at least looked at, and maybe, our coaches association could inquire and get everybody's, feedback and see if we could, put a proposal towards, to the actual state. Like I said, either way, I'm going to attack it and roll with it. But it's interesting why we don't have that when we redraw for the regional and they redraw for the semi-state and, just different things along the way. I don't know if it'll ever change in our state. But I think that it should at least be talked about from an administration standpoint, just to see what could potentially be done.
Do you know, are there serious conversations about that within the Coaches Association? Like, I know we have conversations like this, but are there ones at that level of things yet?
There's always just people kind of mentioning it in pockets and, they'll put out surveys and things like that. But, I don't think it's ever gotten to the point of where it's like, hey, this is what we'd like to see and something presented to the actual IHSAA. Yeah.
Would you be in favor of getting rid of sectionals, or do you like the sectionals and kind of the geographic aspects of it?
I guess I'm kind of old school in some regards. I mean, I just love the sectional feel and vibe where you have to win 3 games in 1 week, and it just makes it so much more rewarding and gratifying to be able to accomplish that. Not that I wouldn't be opposed to change, but I kind of like how things are set up where, it's basically it's the toughest week in the game. And then now you move to, if you're fortunate enough to move to the semi-state, to me, that's the toughest day of the entire season, is that semi-state to come out of it.
Sure. Well, Kristi, we appreciate you hopping on with us. Thank you so much. Congratulations on a great season. I know that we were already getting our bets in on you guys having a deep run in next year's tournament with everybody you have coming back. But thanks again for hopping on with us. It was great talking with you.
Well, I always appreciate when you guys reach out and, ask me to help promote, girls basketball in the state of Indiana. We appreciate all that you guys do, for girls basketball. And I know that you guys will keep doing that moving forward. But thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
Kristi.
All right. You too.
Kristi Ulrich, head coach at Penn, joining us there. I love that.
Okay. Yeah, that's really cool.
That's awesome.
Good stuff. Yeah,
that was phenomenal. And she mentioned that last night too in Austin's story. Austin sent that to me. But yeah, that's really cool. And that's the right and proper mentality to do it. That was great.
So Kristi's won almost 350 games. I think 349 games.
Yeah.
I think she's won.
Wow.
She takes the job. She wins 16 games her first year. And in the other 15 has never won less than 19 games. Okay.
Isn't that nuts?
I think this is just a cautionary tale. There's no root to this. I don't know if anybody needs to hear this, but I'm going to say it anyways. Okay. If anybody watched that game last night and wants to make snap judgment on Kristi Ulrich as a coach, okay, stop, like, immediately. Like, she's one of the best. She's coached Kelsey Reynolds, Lily Savetti. She's been to the state championship. She's won regionals. She is always there for sectionals. She'll be in the regional next year because she'll win sectionals. That's a difficult thing. I just, without being there and without kind of hearing both sides of the context, you just turn that game on and you immediately are like, oh, they did this or they did that or whatever.
Oh.
Yeah. So listen, that's in that screen right there. We had what I would think is hands down one of the best coaches that's currently doing it right now. And not just from a game perspective, but also running a program. She didn't check any notes, by the way. Like, when she was reading it through, like, she just knows her program. She knows her kids. She knows everything about it. So I don't think I need people to realize that. But if there is a small percentage of people, if I reach one that is maybe critical for the wrong reasons, that girl can deal. Okay, she can absolutely deal, and they'll be around next year. And then I would ask you to text next year and see what you say.
Yeah, I don't. It wasn't a stall ball thing. I mean, Austin and I were texting about that, and I was talking with some people last night, asked about that too. The game featured 33 combined turnovers and only 3 3-pointers, and I think there were none in the second half. And Washington won, scoring like 11 points in the second half. Washington's dealing with illness. Penn's dealing with youth. Sometimes the game's just bad.
It's
to be blunt. It happens.
There are things too, like, look, the other person's trying to make a play too. Okay. Mm-hmm. So on one hand, you're like, oh, you leave your guard out there for Raya Wilson to go. okay, well, Raya made the play. You know what I mean? Like, and so I use that example, and I'm not referencing anything specific, but I'm just trying to say, like, the other kid, you know, as Reggie Wayne famously said for the Colts, you know, the other person gets paid too. And so that it's such a unique basketball game. My text messages in that game are hilarious, by the way. Like, it's just, so I got onto it late and I was like, what in the heck is going on up there? And so I had to get on there immediately. But it's crazy. One of them was funny. One of them was my eyes. I got that one.
It was really, really
which
bad.
Was good. It made me laugh. I'm sure it's not going to make Kristi or Steve laugh, but
we can laugh about it. We weren't involved. We just had to. We didn't really have to watch it. You were out of town, and I was driving back from Indian Creek, so it was really Austin's problem. You think about it.
Yeah,
but they're going to be great. And circling back to, I mean, Votaw, another great coach. I loved hearing her talk about how she's changed her philosophy and changed things. And then, I mean, just to big pictures, we look at Sectional 8, and we'll dive into that more over the coming days, obviously. But just how good is the coaching in that sectional? I mean, Drudge is awesome being around practice there. Kelsey is doing a phenomenal job at Westfield. We talked about Donna and Sat and Lauren. It's just an awesome group of coaches, great people too. And yeah, I mean, they were one of a handful of teams to hold IHSAA under 50 this year. I think they did it twice too. Fishers did.
Fishers was, yeah.
Oh, yeah, they did that. I think Carmel did it too. It's mostly sectional 8 teams, unsurprisingly, but that'll be interesting tomorrow. Quickly from me, Shelbyville, I have a story up on them, and just again a team that graduated 5 seniors, returned 0 starters, have minimal varsity experience. They now have a winning record. They're on a run in the sectional. They went away from the sectional championship game, so anything goes over there. Got a chance to see them last night. That was fun. They got a freshman over there who's pretty talented. New Pal handled Greenwood in the other semifinal. Tomorrow night, I'm going to go out to see Danville versus Brebeuf. Slipped by Lebanon. I don't know if you saw that, Danny, but it was a little dicey there, and Brebeuf had to make a late rally to pull that one out.
I saw.
Guerin versus Tri-West. I'm really excited to see that one. That'll be a fun game. A couple teams that are finding their way and have picked up some big wins down the stretch, both of them. Any other games you wanted to talk about that we didn't get a chance to talk about either Tuesday night or from yesterday, or that you want to look ahead to even?
No, I would just say globally. It's like, you know, in football, when you have the teams that were on the bye, and this is not the highest seeded teams, it's just the luck of the draw. But I mean, it's going to be an exciting weekend. Lauren Central is going to be in action. They're going to start their defense of their state championship and their run at the 2-year dynasty. Lawrence North is going to be in action. Homestead's going to be in action. McCutcheon's going to be in action. So a lot of the teams that didn't play earlier in the week are now going to be in action. And I gently remind everybody that we're going to lose 85% of these teams. So if you had an opportunity and didn't take advantage of it to get to a game, you have one more opportunity to see a really, really talented teams in action. Pick one. It doesn't need to be the game or the game of the night. Just go to one. They're fantastic, because the season's going to end for, like I said, 85% of these schools will be done. And we'll just talk like really just individually. Once we whittle this down to the regionals, it'll be kind of a game-by-game basis with even our coverage on this show. But go to a game, support these kids, because it can just end like it did for Penn last night and almost did for a 1-loss South Bend Washington team.
Crazy. That's crazy. I'm going to ask you this on air. I could just easily do it over text or whatever. Did you see Addie's pass last night, Addie Baxter? She's like on the floor, throws it across the lane in for an open layup.
That
Her
kid's
mom
gangster.
cleared it out. Yeah,
she's gangster.
That was my exact reaction when I saw it.
She needs. I am rooting for a deep run for Columbia City. Okay, and that is, it comes from a place, just so everybody understands, it comes from a place of they were an instrumental storyline when we started this 56 episodes ago. I mean, it just was. And that's a community that adopted us and supported us. And Addie's been great. And the scores table has followed her progression. I want to see one of those passes in Gainbridge.
Yeah,
I just do.
Mm-hmm. What games are you most excited for tomorrow night? Pike-Plainfield?
Yeah,
that feels like the obvious answer. I realize that I asked it.
Of course.
What's your pick there? Give me some keys. Give me your thoughts to that game.
Plainfield won the draw, right? They got to sit back and let Brownsburg and Pike kind of beat up on each other, so they had an extra day to prepare, and they got to see some of the Keith Holland's nuance, if you will. That's a tremendous advantage from a coaching perspective and a game preparation advantage. That is the kind of thing that can swing a basketball game 4 points either way, which might be enough to win it. But I do think that this is a basketball game that I think Plainfield, they would never admit this, okay? But I think they would have rather played Brownsburg, okay? And for me, the key to the game is Keith knows who he is. And Pike's players know who they are, and so does Plainfield. And I want to see their reaction when they try to push them around and get very physical and test them and talk smack and do all of that. Okay. If Plainfield can come out of the other side, they're who I think they are. I think Plainfield is the better basketball team. I'm not picking them. I think they're the better basketball team. I would say that knowingly that Keith Hollins listens to this. Okay.
He loves this. He's happy you're saying that.
But that doesn't mean they're going to win. But if they do, it's going to be because they stay true to who they were. If it's very easy when you get, I can't remember which coach said it. Which one coach famously said, everybody has a plan till you get hit in the face. They're going to get hit in the face on Friday, and can they stick to their plan is going to be the question. But that's the game. Somebody actually texted me today, like a couple hours ago, like, which game are you going to tomorrow? And I was like, I don't know. I guess it's probably going to be that one.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Is Pike's physicality and how Plainfield holds up to that, but Pike's going to have to play a really clean game because Plainfield, not unlike Center Grove, you make a mistake, you make a turnover, they're going to kill you. Like they're going to cash in, and they're going to, the same thing as like a Lauren Central. It's like you make one misstep and they're going to turn that into one or two bad things for you. So you got to play a clean game. And Keith kind of alluded to that too when we had him on the other night, and just the girls have to stick to the game plan. They have to buy in. They did a really good job of that against Brownsburg. Now you got to do it again against Plainfield, except the stakes are even higher because Plainfield's even more adept at that stuff than Brownsburg is. So that's going to be a really interesting dynamic too.
Well, let's look at the sectional game last year, the regional game last year. Plainfield and Pike. The halftime score would have indicated that Pike was going to win that basketball game. They carried the momentum through their sectional win and hit Plainfield in the mouth and took a lead to the halftime locker room. And then there was an adjustment. So I think for me, it is partially the game planning and the coaching, but Keith is going to give them something that Plainfield isn't ready for, and Kurt's going to give something that Keith isn't ready for. And I think from a coach's perspective, yes, there's great players out there: Kamari Booker, Marley Jefferson, Sanaya Smith, Alana Devine, Hannah Menser, Berkeley Williams, Ellie Stewart. I mean, the star-studded basketball game. Okay, star-studded basketball game. But I will be watching the coaching. I will be watching to see the adjustments that are being made throughout the game, because those are two staffs that aren't afraid to change things in the middle of a game. And as a coach, I can tell you, you push into the circle when you change, because it is like, okay, well, we worked on this for 48 hours, but we're going to do this. And you have no idea what cards you're going to be dealt when you make a brave change like that. You end up looking like a hero a lot of times, but a lot of times you don't. And so I think the bravery that those people will have, and let me give you an example. Okay. Hannah Menser. Okay. Let's just talk about her. She's one of the more prolific scorers in the 27 class, right? Well, what if she comes out and hits 3 early threes? Okay. Super capable of doing it. Then Keith's got to figure it out. Keith's going to be like, okay, am I going to stay home on this? And now suddenly you've got Olenek and Stewart and Berkeley cooking on the weak side where there's only 2 defenders. It's just those things that happen within the game flow. You can say, well, we're going to take Menser away. Good luck.
Yeah, have fun.
Good luck. It's awesome. Good luck.
Yeah, sure you are.
Yeah. So, and it's the same thing for Pike too. So That's the game. It's the one that everyone's going to stream to. And I think it might be nice to see that. It's one regret that I had about last night and my travels and things like that. I would have loved to be at that Penn Washington game. I just think you would have gotten more context of what was happening with the dehydration and the cramps and the turning over. I mean, both teams probably had 25 turnovers.
Mm-hmm. The illness is real. And two, we talk a lot about buys, and this is maybe the one year where it's good to get that buy because it gives you time to get healthy. I mean, I heard from Austin, who had somebody texting him that Kira's getting sick. You could see it on the live stream. Like, she was in a bad way with that. I think it's the influenza that's running around everywhere.
That's right. I heard that
been
too.
Hit by it. So yeah, it's rough out there. Another game too to keep an eye on. I just wanted to mention it. Austin, Brownstown Central. Brownstown Central, of course, was at Cambridge last year. They're looking to avenge a 4-point loss in the regular season. Austin has they have some really good pieces over there. They're kind of just always around. It seems like in my time here, there's also going to be around Holly Beach Grove, which is one to watch because if Miley Bowling could get going, I mean, that could get out of hand in the other direction for a team like Beach Grove that's kind of playing with house money. On the Roncalli side, they're finally fully healthy, which is great. Brenna Cerny, Elliot Leffler, Lydia Staley, list goes on. They got some really talented pieces over there. And then Shelbyville, New Pal in the other game. There's another one from down south. Silver Creek, Scottsburg could be an interesting one. And then in the Evansville area as well, I believe Central has somebody. I'm sorry, Gibson Southern versus Castle, and that
Gibson Southern Castle, and then Wrights will get through on Friday. So that's the setup for who's going to play Wrights on Saturday night.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a fun night. It doesn't have quite the same dazzle and past years, I think, overall, but honestly, that's a good thing because that means it's Saturday, man. It's gonna be insane.
Yeah, that's gonna be a multiple screen day.
Yeah,
I mean, it's to sit with people and you're gonna have to line up the phones. But Hank, I'm gonna ask you the same question that you got mad at me before, but. So Westfield and Zionsville, if you have to pick one that's going to upset the balance of power in sectional 8 and ruin your Saturday night, which one do you give a better chance to?
I'd love to pick Zionsville, but I think the answer is Westfield.
Yeah, the answer is Westfield.
I think just with the way that they defend, I think I'll touch on Zionsville quickly. Things probably literally cannot get any worse than what they did the first time where HSE hit a school record 16 3-pointers. Like, the chance of that happening again are like winning the lottery and getting struck by lightning twice in a row simultaneously.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you're right.
In advance for when that happens. But I just think that the way Westfield plays, they played Noblesville tough during the regular season too.
They sure did. That's a good point.
And like Lauren mentioned, I mean, they're content to play a game in the 30s. They're content to win a game in the 30s, and they're all bought into that. Kelsey does a good job. She'll have a scheme there. It just Noblesville, I think, is comfortable playing there too. We've seen a few low-scoring games from them as well. I'm curious to see what tweaks Donna makes, and maybe it's some things that you experiment. You roll a couple things out there that you think could also be effective against HSE. So I'm curious too from that aspect, the game planning of it all. But I think Westfield's the answer there, just based on the matchups and the way that they play against one another.
Yeah.
You think we're going to see any big upsets tomorrow night?
Chalky.
Yeah, it feels kind of chalky to me too, which bothers me, if I'm being honest. It bothers me in a big way. Like something weird's going to happen that we didn't see. Because look at night one.
Yeah, no, you're right. And it is. But I think it's chalky, and I think it does. Look, I love an upset just like everybody else. Okay, but when you don't get upsets, then you get heavyweight matchups on Saturday night. Yep. And so that's not the worst thing in the world either. I mean, and there's some like huge games that'll be like the 4th biggest game in the area. Like. There's gonna be some monsters up there.
Oh, it's gonna be great. A couple more before I get us out of here to watch Chesterton, Merrillville. Winner there will likely play Valparaiso. That's up in Chesterton, and then a little bit closer to home, Fort Wayne Carroll versus Fort Wayne Snyder. Those young Panthers, led by Reggie Tharp, looking to knock off Carroll and advance to another sectional championship game over there. We should mention Kenzie Cook and Bella Sotelo both set records in Eastern Hancock's first sectional game. Bella Sotelo, I believe it was the steals record. Kenzie Cook is the all-time points leader. They are both sophomores. So how about that?
Listen, I've always said, not always, I think I said in one other episode, the 1,000-point metric and the 2,000-point metric brings into relativity and comparison to apples and oranges. When it's the all-time scoring record, that's relatively equal footing because it's against somebody within the same school. I don't know if it speaks to how extraordinary and remarkable the scoring has been for Kenzie Cook, or if they just haven't. But to break an all-time scoring record as a sophomore is ridiculous. But I mean, she gets 30s like just when she wakes up, brushes her teeth, and then goes get 30. Like it's unbelievable. I saw that come across, and I was like, wait, what? That's unbelievable.
That's crazy.
So, yeah, and by the way, they're still alive too. Like, and I would like to see, kids like that, right? Kids that can go out and get 35. You just want to see them play in like big competition, right? That's the one thing that's really unique about the tournament is as you move further right, Eastern Hancock cannot get to Gainbridge Fieldhouse unless they play South Knox. And if it's not South Knox, it'll be the team that beats South Knox, maybe Lanesville or whoever. To get to see these kids play in such different environments with different stages on the line, I think is super entertaining. But now she does so under the pretense of being the all-time leading scorer at Eastern Hancock, which is the same high school her dad went to. Like, that's a really cool thing for that kid.
Yeah. The kid grew up with like an Eastern Hancock basketball. I remember talking to her first story the first time I saw her play. It's a really cool story, a very small town Indiana story. They'll likely play Heritage Christian on Saturday night. Heritage Christian took down Triton Central on Wednesday. A couple other things. Borden, a double milestone night for them too in their sectional game. Career win number 100 for Coach Matt Vick. 1,000 career points for junior Ava Wheeler. And then I mentioned the Heritage Christian thing. Anything else, Danny, you wanted to get to before we get on out of here?
Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, because of your sweatshirt, just an update on the Billy Bassett Foundation. On Monday, there's a 7th and 8th grade A-only game at Westfield, which is where Gabby Bassett, who is Billy's middle daughter, is playing a game. And that is going to be Billy Bassett Scholarship Fund night. It is Monday, February 10th. There will be some recognition for the scholarship fund that will happen between the games for about 10 minutes, but you'll get an opportunity to hear Nicole Bassett talk. In a community that, just judging from my text, we're just a lot of people will be wearing the same hoodie. I think the girls are going to wear blue ribbons. There's support from the athletic department. There's support from even the Brownsburg coaches. Coach Sable at Brownsburg has been involved. Coach Kelsey Key at Westfield has been involved. It should be one of those special nights. If you don't have anything to do on Monday, come on out and support. It's going to be for a great cause and an opportunity to just kind of see one of those special nights in basketball in helping carry on the legacy of Billy Bassett. So thanks for that opportunity. I wasn't planning on doing that, but thanks for that opportunity, because that means a lot to a lot of people.
I've seen too a lot of posts on social media, on Twitter and Instagram too. The scholarship application is open for seniors now, correct? Is there a deadline coming up, or it's just open?
I
didn't mean to put you on the spot. I'm sorry. Bottom line is though that it's open.
It is. You can go to the website. You can apply. I would encourage everybody to apply. It will be given. It is real. It's gonna be money. And we just had a call with the members of the foundation this week, and they were talking about the timelines. There's a couple special things planned. I think they were originally planning on doing it at the state championship. Now I think there's been talks of maybe doing it at the Big Ten tournament. There's things that are happening, but there's already been some applicants, and I think that's a really cool thing for these high school seniors to take advantage of. There's also an email that went out to all of the high school coaches. I don't know if it's all of them. I think on the distribution list, there may have been 150 to 200 of them. So if they're high school coaches that watch this, please pass that on to your team so they can get involved. And there's also going to be, and I'm not the person to best describe this, Jeremy Bloom and Chad Miller, the president and vice presidents of the foundation, we are better served to do this. But I think there's also going to be a donation to the school of the winner of the school of the recipients. Will also receive money from the scholarship fund that is going to be asked to be used directly for girls basketball. So there's a lot of special things really going on there, and I think that was the point of this is to really kind of help Billy, help the girls basketball community that he cared so much about.
Very good, very good. On IndyStar.com, our feature on Maddie Nolan is up. I encourage everybody to read it, obviously, but also the video and the photos that Grace Smith took as part of her photo story are awesome talking, and she really documents and captures Maddie's journey as she continues to pursue professional opportunities playing overseas. So that is up. And yeah, like I said, cannot recommend at least checking out the photos and video enough because Grace did a phenomenal job with those. I will be out in Lebanon tomorrow night for those sectional semifinals. And then assuming things go chalk, I'll be up in Noblesville at the Mill for the sectional 8 final. Kyle Mednarip's helped me out tomorrow night. He'll be at Ben Davis. That's where Clark will be as well. And he's TBD on Saturday. So just follow us on Twitter. Danny and I will be back tomorrow night and Saturday for live shows as scheduled, barring any sort of weather delays, whatever. We'll have a similarly guest-packed show recapping everything, getting the stage set for Saturday. And then next week with regionals, for those who don't make it back for either of those shows, I think we're gonna go big on that. We'll have a couple long shows with a lot of guests breaking down as much as we can, covering the big school, small school. So get ready for that. Be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube. Click the bell for notifications when we go live. And thank you all so much for watching. We'll talk to you again tomorrow night.